It turns out Joe Biden is not the only Democrat lacking self-awareness. Watch this.
Kathy Hochul getting an earful as she was leaving the wake for murdered NYPD officer Jonathan Diller, this over in Massapequa. A source tells me this happened moments after Hochul refused to abide by the family's wishes. They would do an open casket viewing, and she did not want to wait on the outside. So she came in while they were closing the casket. As she stormed in, they just couldn't stop her. I'm told that family members let her have it when she got there, saying, quote, "His blood is on your hands." Hochul wasn't the only one approached at the wake. Mayor Eric Adams and DA Alvin Bragg were both confronted directly, this time by Officer Diller's wife. The source tells me she let them have it, too, telling them the same thing that was told to Hochul. His blood is on your hands.
Now, make no mistake, far-left politicians and district attorneys have empowered criminals like the one accused of murdering Officer Diller. Now, sadly, violent crime is a serious problem across New York City and is still way up from pre-pandemic levels. This week, another New York City woman was randomly punched in the face. The allegation is that it appears to be a growing trend in the city. The victim allegedly suffered a broken jaw and her mouth is now wired shut. But the alleged perpetrator was released from jail without posting bail, despite 2 prior arrests for assault. Here now with more, Florida Congressman Byron Donalds and Fox News contributor Leo Terrell. Gentlemen, I know you get as infuriated as I do at these types of situations because you have a dead officer, and we have to remember him and his family first and foremost. But the allegation is that his perpetrator had 21 prior arrests. Now, we don't know what those 21 are yet, but Congressman, we see this story playing out time and time and time again. How many times does somebody have to get murdered before we look at somebody and say, you shouldn't be out on the street?
Well, listen, with the tragedy that happened to Officer Diller and to his family, all this can be avoided. And the policy is very simple. It's bail reform, quote unquote, cashless bail. That policy has to be removed from every state in the union that has it, because the truth of the matter is that you have people who are just reoffending as opposed to being held, having to post bond and be released. And so you're having these situations where you have repeat offenders. You simply can't have it. The problem is, especially in New York City, but in other states and other cities as well, they believe in this cashless bail program, even though the results say otherwise. Our streets are less safe. Our officers are less safe. This is not working out for anybody. And for you to be arrested 21 times and be released time and time again, that's how you know that system is not working.
So, Leo, you have this allegation of this woman being sucker punched. Her jaw is now wired shut. It's not the first time we've heard this out of New York City. And again, the allegation is that this person had been arrested twice for assault. I mean, how many more examples do we have to come up with here?
A lot more, because New York has not hit rock bottom yet, Jason. And I want to be very clear. Eric Adams is no friend to law enforcement. Eric Adams is no friend to keeping the criminals off the street. If he was fighting for keeping criminals off the streets, he would go after Alvin Bragg. He would go after the governor of New York. He would go after Democrats who are soft on crime. But this guy talks a great game, but does absolutely nothing. So New York has not hit rock bottom. And isn't it a coincidence? It's the same problem in Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Philadelphia. What do they have in common? Democrat cities, Democrat mayors, Democrat governors, they don't care. You know why? Because those criminals represent the voting bloc of the Democrat Party, and they're not going to alienate the progressive left.
Congressman, there's crime in Florida, no doubt about it, from where you're from. But I don't hear the stories and the horror stories about people who allegedly commit a crime and then they're immediately out on the streets. And yet you have these people, these district attorneys that continue to get elected. What is going on in America in these big democratic cities that think perpetuating the status quo is going to solve the problems and make the streets more safe?
Well, it's simple. They're committed to their agenda. They're not looking at the realities. They're not looking at the outcome of their policies. They're committed to the policies. And if you disagree, if you're a citizen in one of these big blue cities and you disagree, they try to shut you up. They try to tell you, oh, no, you haven't seen the data. They try to just simply ignore you because they don't want to give up the policy agenda that they've been seeking. This is the stuff that George Soros wants. He's been funding these DAs throughout the country. And these DAs have been a disaster for just basic security and safe streets. And so there has to be a reckoning with the voters in these major cities and even some of these states for them to say, listen, they may be a Democrat, a registered Democrat, but they can't have a good city if the streets simply aren't safe. And so you have to get rid of these people, these DAs who say that all they want to do is have comprehensive reform, but they don't want to take safety and security seriously.
Congressman Donald's Leo Terrell, thanks for your passion in wanting justice in America. Really do appreciate it. All right, coming up, Biden's border crisis continues to spiral out of control, but Republicans they're actually taking some action. How? We'll explain as this special edition of Hannity continues.